Kuf Lamed Beis, or whatever the sheet page you have is. The Maamar is V'yata Titzave.
Which letter? Which os?
1 second. We're in the middle of os Hey.
Okay, which is on page Lamed Zayin.
Okay. We're os Hey. Actually, os Hey. Yesh Levaya Zal Pi Hayadua. The Rebbe is explaining to us that the reason that the grinding of the olive for olive oil, that the Torah says in the first pasuk, the first verse of this week's parsha, is to be brought to Moshe, is because Moshe is the one who instills faith in a deep, internalized way within the Jew. So to explain this further, Al Pi Yedua, it's known the fact that Jewish people have an intrinsic belief in God with simple faith, and they do not need any proof to prove the existence of God and their belief in God. It's because of two reasons. One, this is because their charm, their luck, their mazel sees the truth. And in reference 32, it's based on the Gemara. The term mazlayu chazi is based on the Gemara in Megillah, where the Gemara talks about Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, the three prophets who prophesied, and then they were thrown into the pit with lions, and that whole story. So it says there that their faith in God was strong, because although they themselves did not kind of see the godliness clearly, but their mazel, their soul, the mazel within the neshama, saw this godliness, and that impacted them, that they were able to successfully accomplish their mission. The neshama shelamayla, the Rebbe now says it in Hasidic terms, that the neshama that comes into the body, that comes from above, roya elokus, it sees godliness. It not only does it believe, it actually sees godliness. Riya shelamayla meseichel, this seeing is transcends logic. It's the mind's eye in a way that goes beyond logic. And this reality that the soul from on high sees godliness impacts the part of the soul that invests itself in the person's body, and it impacts Amuna Belikus for that part of the soul that's in us to have belief in God. So what's happening over here? We have a neshama that's lemaila, and we have a neshama that's lamata. In other words, within us we have a soul that's invested in us, i.e. we call that lamata, below the body on earth, and it's imbued and controlled by the soul, the section of the soul that is in heaven. The section of our soul that's in heaven sends signals to our soul on earth, and if you don't have any clutter in the way and garbage and nonsense, it's a clear connection, and it hears the message from on high, and it goes with it. What is the message from on high, Moshe? The message is seeing God, not just believing, but re'iyah. We've been speaking a lot about this idea of seeing godliness. So the soul on high doesn't have any interruptions, right? It doesn't have to deal with all the issues that we deal with on earth. So as long as, right, as long as you don't put an obstacle in the way, it will call the soul below, and it will say, listen, you don't see God, but I see God. But I'm telling you, I see God, I see godliness, and therefore you should have faith in God. So the faith that we have, the emunah we have in God, in Hashem, is a derivative of what? A derivative of our part of our neshama that's in heaven that sees God. That's what he says. Another explanation. The shaydish ho emunah hu mi'etzem haneshama shemelamayla memazle chosa. The second explanation is a deeper explanation. He says the source of our faith is from what we call etzem haneshama, the essential soul that's even greater than the mazel of our soul. The zeshe etzem haneshama mikusheres belikuz, the idea that the essential soul is bound to godliness, he is kashrus atzmis. It's an essential bind, she'ena tluya b'siba. It doesn't depend on a cause, on a reason. Gam le b'inyin hariya shelamayla me'aseichel. It doesn't depend on any type of realization. Now, I want to explain this. When we talk about seeing something, we've been speaking about the virtue of seeing versus hearing, right? But nevertheless, let me ask you, is seeing the essence, or is seeing also an application? It's also an application. There is the eye that sees. The eye meaning I use my eyes to see. So as soon as you say I use my eyes to see, what you're saying by definition is there's an I who applies the eyes, the physical eyes, to see. That means the eyes are not you. They're an instrument for you. Just like the ears are an instrument for you. The difference being that the clarity of seeing is so much more powerful than the clarity of hearing. But nevertheless, even the clarity of seeing is not the eye. So this is what he's saying over here. The second,
can I ask you a question?
No, 1 second. I got to finish the thought, and then I'll take your question. Give me a moment, please.
I'm 50 years old.
And therefore? And therefore what?
Can't win anymore.
What does 50 years old have to do with what? 1 second.
Respect that I can ask you a question. I'm just kidding.
Oh, not in the middle of a thought. You disturbed me. 1 second. So the idea of seeing something, by the way, I'm 60. Anyway, the idea of seeing something means that it's not your essence. It's an application of your essence. I go back to what I've been saying the last few weeks about the kishkis, because I really like that word. I really like the implication of the word. That when something is in your gut, it becomes who you are. It's greater than even seeing. It's who you are. Seeing is not who you are. Seeing is a very powerful tool that's full of clarity, but it's not who you are. What he says here in the Maamar is Yehuda is the following: that emunah, according to the second explanation, is so deep within a Jew that it's even greater than seeing. It's who you are. If you were to cut open a Jewish hand, what would flow out? Not hearing and not seeing, but faith. Reminds us the story that they said about the Mittler Rebbe towards his passing, when he passed, that if you would, that the doctor said if you cut open if you gave him a cut, not blood would fall out, but Chasidus would be coming out of his physical body, because he was permeated with Chasidus. That's how much he became one with Chasidus. Anyway, so the same thing over here. Now, Ari, it's your turn. Go ahead, Mr. 50.
Mr. 50. I gave you a chance to think. But I get it. The etzem, like the seeing is outside. It's not inside.
That's right. That's right.
But the idea, you come in a generation when there wasn't necessarily TV in every room. And I remember listening to a radio as opposed to seeing something on TV. And the experience could be even greater in your mind, the imagination you use when you hear rather than seeing. It gives you an opportunity to actually think much more rather than just seeing what's there.
Well,
I don't know if it's not doesn't relate to it, maybe, but it's very interesting.
You have to dissect your words and the idea. There is a virtue in hearing versus seeing. We haven't really discussed that much, so that's what you're referring to. But nevertheless, like you said, the difference is in understanding.
Right.
In understanding. But understanding is not clarity. If you understand that it's now dark outside, if you can prove now that it's dark, and you walk outside and you see light, what are you going to say? You're going to say, although I understand that I can bring you proof it's dark outside, my eyes see light. So in other words, the clarity comes from re'iyah, from seeing. The understanding is associated with hearing. But here, Ari, we're saying that whether it's hearing or whether it's seeing, emunah is even deeper. It's who you are. Because at the end of the day, both hearing and seeing are applications. It's applications. It's not the guts. It's not the guts. It's not who you are. At the end of the day, a person, what motivates them, a clear thinking and a normal person who's looking for truth and whatever issue they're dealing with, whether it be business or religion or education or whatever the issue is, if you're looking for truth, you want to look inside yourself. You use tools to understand and to see, but at the end, that shouldn't be the motivating factor. What should be is that it touches your essence. You understand? Now, the problem is that many times we believe that our essence is a certain way and we're totally fooling ourselves. It's like many people, they say, I'm a Pinchas, I'm a Kanoi, I'm a Zealot. I'm going to go out and kill Arabs, and just kill them with knives and because I'm a Pinchas. Well, you'll end up in jail and worse, So who appointed you a Pinchas? I had this issue here in the last few weeks in Brooklyn. I don't want to get into details, but someone is, stomping around that he's a Pinchas and he wants to, do something. And I told him in a nice way, I said, I'm sorry, you have Rabbonim and you have Gaboim and you go to them. That's their job. Imagine in your shul, Moshe, someone will come in and say, no, the chairs are not the right way. The rabbi should give a speech then. He should do this. Why? Because I've been to shuls all over the world with bigger rabbis and bigger shuls and bigger people, and the way you guys do it is, okay, we'll leave it at that. So you tell him, my dear friend, you're not the gabbai here, you're not the rabbi here. I hear your idea, I'll discuss it, and then we'll see what to do. So there are people who claim that their essence is being moved to act, and it's not their place. So there's misjudgment. So when we talk about emunah, we're talking about a healthy emunah, not someone who gets up and leads people astray. And we've had that, from the false messiahs to all kinds of leaders who at the end of the day, most of them were proven to be wrong and charlatans, right? With Bar Kosiva in the Gemara, with Rabbi Akiva. Could you imagine? Rabbi Akiva fell for this false messiah that the Gemara calls him Bar Kosiva, Bar Kochva, right? And why is he called Bar Kosiva? Because he was murdered. And if he would have been a tzaddik, Hashem, that's what the Gemara says, wouldn't let him be murdered, right? So nevertheless, the Rambam brings this because Rabbi Akiva had a right to identify someone as the presumptive Mashiach, Cheskas Mashiach. It's not a violation of halacha, according to the Rambam. And the Rambam is the codifier of the laws of Mashiach. So the Rambam says that Rabbi Akiva had a right in identifying Bar Kochva as Mr. Mashiach. Was he wrong at the end? Yeah, he was wrong because he wasn't the Mashiach. What am I saying? What I'm saying is that the line between, my faith drives me to identify and do something that's right versus wrong is a very, very thin line and a very, very sensitive issue that we have to be careful about. Nevertheless, what we're learning in the Maamar, back to the Maamar, is the importance of emunah. According to Hillel, according to the second interpretation here in this paragraph, it's deeper than Mazlaya Chazi. Okay? So we have like this, Sholem, we have Mazlayu, the Mazel, my Mazel, Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov is a great thing, but there's something beyond Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov means congratulations. What?
Etzem Tov.
Etzem Tov, exactly. And by the way, right, exactly. The Etzem, let's go further. The difference between the two interpretations that we mentioned earlier. The faith that comes to us from being impacted by the soul from heaven, it's superficial. The soul above is beyond investing itself in the body. Therefore, its impact by the on the soul that's in the body, it's superficial. Like it's like a father writing to a son how to behave, and he's far away. Go down, go visit him, meet him face to face, take him out for coffee, take him out for bowling, put your hand around him, and have a chat. Then you're more or less communicating in a pneumistic way. I'm going to write you a letter, send you an email, send you money, but you're there and he's there. That's called makif. As powerful as the neshama is on high, Shalom, the neshama on high is in love with God. Great. I love you in the soul above, but guess what? You're not in me. So the most you can do for me is impact me in a superficial way. It's like, okay, I'll check it out. Dad, thanks very much for the advice. I'll check it out. That's the first result from this emunah above. In order for the emunah that's within us, that it should be in an inner way, internalized, it's through revealing Moshe the essential bond that your soul has with God. Powerful words. The essence of the neshama, etzem, which Hillel, you said before, the etzem, really, that's the etzem of the soul that's in the body. Although on one hand the soul removed from it, at the very same time, it is its parent. It is what it's made of. That's why it's inside. So what we're learning here, Ari, this touches a little bit up upon what you said, is you could say, just like there's a virtue, like you said, to hearing versus seeing, so too there's a virtue to the soul being in the body, although it's only part of the neshama, right? Because most of the neshama is lamaila. But that part that's here is here. You know what one of the lessons is? When you're here, be here 100%. I know that most of you can't be here because you have other responsibilities. But what I'm asking of you is that the time you're here, I want it to be 100%. You come home for a half an hour for dinner to put the kids to sleep, to help them with homework. During that time, take your phone and bury it. Bury it so you shouldn't see it, you shouldn't hear it. You got to be fully focused. I just had it at the dinner table last night with my youngest child. The phone rings. I said, we don't pick up the phone now. This is 10, 15 minutes that we sit together, and you don't strip the time when you have to be 100% there. The virtue of the neshama that's in the guf, yeah, the body is very tempting, and the body has its indulgences, and its cravings, and its challenges, and all. But there is a time that it's pure, it's clean. Make that time the essence. And that's what we call bepnimius. So the virtue, here it is, the virtue of the neshama within the body versus the neshama with outside of the body is the virtue of pnimius over makif. So who would you rather have? Would you rather have a spouse? Would you rather have a child, a friend, a rabbi who's with you part of the time but totally there with you? Or someone who is so much greater and all that, and they're around more often, and you could talk to them more often, but whenever it is, they're not fully there. That's the difference between makif and pnimius. And guess what? Depending on who we are and what we are, who we are at any given time, that's what we choose. So there are people who like to be, let's say, in a certain shul because they like the camaraderie. They like the noise. They like the freilichkeit. They like the politics. They like whatever. They like the rabbi's talk. In other words, they're motivated because the outside stimuli makes them tick. That's what we call makif. It's superficial, but it does work on some level. And that's why you have plenty of shuls. What do they call them? They have an abbreviation. They come for the kiddush. You know, they come just for the kiddush. They don't come to learn before davening. They don't come for davening. They come for the drinks and the herring and the kishke and the chol. And then a little bit schmoozing, and they're back to their houses. And you don't see them the rest of Shabbos. That's one experience. There's another experience. A person might not come for as long, but when he's there, he's totally focused while he's there. He's there because he wants to connect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's Shabbos Kodesh, and when he's there, and you can't talk to him, and you can't bother him. You see he's elsewhere. It touches him with pnimius. And believe me, if he gets into a pnimius dikir mode, he'll want to be there more. He'll want to be there more, and he'll be there for the right reasons. Are both valuable? Yes. To go and discount a group of people who come just for the kiddush, believe me, it's better than being there than at the horse races. And it's better to be there than at the beach in Tel Aviv. Okay? My daughter has quite a few people, I've been there, who come to shul, and we have a beautiful, elaborate kiddush, and then we daven a quick mincha, and 2 o'clock, everyone's over, we go home, and they go to the Tel Aviv beach. And they're not breaking Shabbos technically because they're not, you can carry, there's an Erev, and what are they doing? You're sitting at the beach. Okay, so maybe it's Taruvis, and then what you see, and it's Shabbos, But I'm saying, the fact is that they came to shul, and they heard a niggin, and they heard a Dvar Torah, and so slowly but surely, their neshama gets electrified, and gets vivified, and at some time, they get a zap, because they zap themselves, or someone zaps them, and they say, what am I doing with my life? I'm just wasting away. And they become more holy and more spiritual and more connected, even in the outward observance of their behavior. So let's continue. We can connect the ideas in the Maamar. The idea of what? Of crushing the olives so that it impacts the source of light. It comes in a continuation to explain the idea of the faithful shepherd. Is Brad still here or he left?
He's back.
Are you with me? Are you following? If you don't understand something, ask. Now you can ask, okay?
He's maki, but we're going to get him panina.
Okay. I'm going to let you get him into pnimius. The fact that Moshe sustains and feeds a Jew's faith. And guys, today is Moshe Rabbeinu's yahrzeit, so it's so appropriate that we're learning about this on this day. Zayin Adar. Shetia bepnimiyis, Moshe accomplishes that what? That it should be internalized. It's because Moshe Rabbeinu has a tremendous job. He reveals within every Jew the essence. Mor shelamayla me'or. Moshe, it says Mor, the illuminary, the source of light, which is greater than the light. It's not enough to light the light of the soul. You have to light, Moshe, the source of the light. You know why? Because when you light the light of a soul, it lasts for a certain amount of time and then it extinguishes. It's over. But if you light the light of the soul, it's a constant flame, constant fire, just like a flame, right? You have the boiler, you have the what is it called? The source. The source. You can't see it. You can't see it. What? The pilot. Thank you. Thank you. That's what I was looking. The pilot. The pilot light. The pilot light would be the Mor. What's on top of the oven, on the stove in the oven, that's the Or. Well, that you can turn on and off. But the pilot light, if and you don't want a gas leak and you want to have health and all that, it's on the whole time. So Moshe Rabbeinu is the one who keeps the pilot light going by a Jew. Why does it have to be kosis, crushed? It's through the feeling of kosis during Golus. How do you experience this kosis? How do you experience Yehuda, the source of light, the Mor? It's through feeling crushed during Golus. The fact that every day I'm in Golus, like I told Moshe Myers, he sent me a note from Miran last night. He's in Miran, so I answered him, it's wonderful and gewaldic, but at the same time, please ask Reb Shimon to jump out of his grave. He's been there already 2,000 years. Is that not enough time to be in a grave? I think it's overdue. In a library, they wouldn't have enough space to fill out the amount of penalties for the book being overdue. 2,000 years. Now, when you think about this, that's what I felt last Lag Bomer. Everyone would go to the first time in my life I was Lag Bomer Miron was last year when I was in Eretz Yisrael, right? I must tell you, I wasn't overwhelmed. In a way, I was sad. 2,000 years, a big tzaddik, the Moshe Rabbeinu of Yisrael is laying in a grave 2,000 years. My feelings, who cares? God knows. But what I'm saying is the kosis feeling, what we're learning about in the Maamar, gets you to move. It gets you to do something. It shakes you up. And if it doesn't shake you up, that means you're not kosis. You're comfortable. And if you're comfortable, Geula is not coming. Geula is not coming from God. Hashem could do anything and will do anything. But we're talking about what we know in the realm of our experience. If you're uncomfortable, you're going to do something about it. If you really bother, you're not making enough money, you are going to get a job, or you're going to make money. You're going to do something, because you need to feed your kinderlach, okay? If you're unhappy with your job, and you want to work, you're going to make a move. This way, that way. And the same is true in marriage and everything else. Those issues that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us, that's Hashem's. Why does someone not have children and things like that? We don't have answers to those things. Why was there a Holocaust? You're thinking about it. I'm still researching my family and getting everyday papers, and people are sending me, and I read it, and it's so sad. It's terrible what and you think about, why did you do with this God? Here are all these fine people, and all of a sudden you let them be murdered and slaughtered and killed in this disgusting way by these evildoers. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? It baffles the mind. So those questions, those issues, we can't understand. But the result of those issues have to move you, and have to move you in a way that you do something. So for one person, for a goy lahavdil, who's in Poland or in Germany, researching, if he researches and he provides documents and he provides information, and one of us want to look back at our ancestors and we have those documents because of him, he has done something to advance Mashiach's coming. And for a Yid, it's the motivation that what can I do to elevate my ancestors' neshamas who went down like ducks, you know? So everyone has to be in a position of kosis. And that's what he says, Moshe, over here. That the ikar, look at the word ikar, is in italics. Ki ikar gili ha'etzem de neshama. The primary way of revealing the essence of the neshama, who be'inyan Mesiras Nefesh, it's because it's when your activity comes with self-sacrifice, she ikrayu bezman ha'golos. Primarily, that's the time of Golos. You talk about the boys and the girls on the front and the army, right? That's Mesiras Nefesh. As much as you say, I'm patriotic and I'm fighting for my country and it's Eretz Yisrael, and at the end of the day, you are on the firing line. This is not a joke. So it's not just Mesiras Nefesh on the parents' part and the grandparents and the friends, which it is, of course. But the boy and girl themselves, they're not stupid. They know exactly what's going on. They know that they're protecting the Am Yisrael. That's Mesiras Nefesh. So they're in Golus because they're still fighting and Arabs and all the issues. That's Golus. That's a big Golus. And what are they doing with the Golus? They're transforming the Golus by protecting the Am Yisrael, right? So constantly a Yid has to have the notion of Mesiras Nefesh, and this is an important message to share with the children and grandchildren, that whatever you do, you have to feel not satisfied and do more. In other words, don't go into a comfort zone. As soon as you go into a comfort zone, it's doomsday. It's doomsday. That's when you become lazy, not productive, bored, depression, alcohol, on and on and on. It comes from my father always said when we were growing up, we told him, we're bored. I'm bored. He said in Yiddish, Nehm sich the cup and klap in Wand. Take your head and bang it on the wall. That's what I was raised with, okay? And he didn't say it once. He said it many times because we complained. We're bored. What do you mean you're bored? He said, I'm bored. I'm not bored. When I'm tired, I sleep. I get up. I learn. I daven. I go to work, and I go on. What do you mean I'm bored? You're bored. You know, the whole notion. This is really, like I told you. You know, my grandson who said I go to Google to find out pshat in the homework, right? I mean, it's not a joke. It's really very sad, Yoni. It's really sad. I mean, it's my own grandson. I'm saying it's like, what is going on today? Yes, Moshe.
Just wanted to, Rabbi Dalfin, I want to ask you a question. You brought the example a few minutes ago about the Chevra going to the beach after Mincha. And we're talking about, I think we are sitting here, I think that we get the whole union of Mesiras Nefesh. I think that we get the whole union of how Mesiras Nefesh is like lights up our neshama and causes us to, when you're on the front lines and you're against the wall and you got it. But one of the things I think that we also see, and I think I'm sure we've spoken about this, but here in Ramat Beit Shemesh, I think we see it everywhere. And I see this amongst people of all ages, particularly obviously youth. And I see it in shul amongst adults. But you see, at the end of the day, we're talking about the neshama. We know that the neshama will do anything somehow to find some sort of tzipur, some sort of enjoyment, some sort of satisfaction. But we're talking about, getting that satisfaction through doing, through Mesiras Nefesh, through satisfying the neshama ultimately in a healthy Jewish way. The question I have, and I ask myself all the time because I see this all the time, evidence in so many different ways of people that are trying to satisfy the Shama, but we see they're trying to satisfy the Shama in ways that they're not Jewish ways, and we see this in the community more and more. Right, we talk about the phone. Right? You could just sit on the phone for an hour, and boom, an hour goes away. You look at this, and you look at that. I guess my question is maybe what I'm just asking, is there a way to, what would you say to a young person? What would you say to an adult that it's very clear that they're going through the motions? They're going through the motions. They put on film. They're going to shul, every day, but they're going through the motions, and that the neshama is just not being,
right,
not being
lived or linked, right? And I hear the question, and I understand it. It's a good question. And the short answer, the brief answer is that you have to tell the person and yourself, every person, what am I doing that's not for myself or for someone else? If you, the hardest Mesiras Nefesh is to do for another. And I don't mean just another. It can mean a wife, and it can be a child, and it can be a friend, but it can also be a stranger. And so you tell the young man, you're not interested in learning yeshiva. You're not interested, in putting on tefillin. Okay, listen. How about there are people that need help and here, there, you have to find and suggest, and this is just takes a little concentration. And those parents that do this have better results in guiding their child, their son and daughter, and in finding an area where they will feel good about themselves. So what I'm saying to you, Moshe, is you're right, that we all want to feel good. It's like it is an intrinsic feeling of the neshama. And then you identified in your question, but we want that feeling of goodness and satisfaction to be with healthy things, not things that are unhealthy. And that takes the parent, the teacher, the guide to identify how can you use your talents that Hashem gave you in a way that'll make another person happy, because when you make another person happy, you feel so good. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, we all know that. That's the biggest satisfaction is when we bring another person to happiness or to knowledge or to a better place in their life. Yes, Hillel.
I just wanted to say, you're bringing together some of the themes of the story. Shlomo once told the story of on the beach of Tel Aviv, meeting an old world street cleaner who had grown up in Piasetzna.
Yeah.
And he asked him for the famous teaching from the Eish Kodesh, the Piasetzna Rebbe, and Shlomo used to say that in the sweet way he had, he'd say the greatest thing in the world is to do somebody else a favor. That was the lesson that Piasetzna drummed into his Talmidim.
To love your fellow Jew as the same as you is the burden of the Torah. Right? That song, He may be far from me, across the widest sea, still I never forget it. Whatever, I'm saying it's nice in a song, but when you could actually make a big difference in people's life and your own life if you adapt this. But again, do we want to adapt? We're lazy. Let him do it. Let someone else do it. I learned from my father-in-law of blessed memory, was a Russian Jew from Kharkov, Chassid. But saying the story that I always tell over that left an impression on me. It was one Sukkot, Erev Sukkot in Marin County, 1985, 86. And we had a minyan in the morning, and one of my balabatim says, "Oh, I didn't build my sukkah yet, and it's sukkah tonight. I have to go home, but we have to finish davening." And right away, we finished davening. I had my car. I turn around. I want to take my father-in-law home to our house after davening. He's not there. 2-3 hours go by. He comes home. Where were you? I was helping that Jew who said he didn't have a sukkah up yet to put up a sukkah. Now he has a sukkah.
Oh, wow.
Unannounced, doesn't tell me anything. You know, just Erev Yom Tiv. What I'm saying, I learned from him, I'm still learning that, but it's the hardest thing is to do for really, you know, when you have to sweat. You know, when you have to, he was he was already a 60-year-old man or whatever, you know what I'm saying? A 65-year-old man. It wasn't, he was a, you know.
Well, my best friends are 60-year-old men.
Yes, Moshe, yes.
I was just going to say, if it may be helpful, in response to what Moshe had said, the other one from Moshe, and what you were saying in response, there is a rabbi who worked with an outreach organization, and he was seeing that there was a whole population of Jews that wanted to connect and do something. Their neshama wanted to be lit, but they weren't getting in the traditional way, like you say. So what he did, he developed a thing. People are like secular left, the love tikkun olam idea, right? So he developed this thing where they take trips to Thailand and to this place and that to help people who are, you know, need help, whatever it is. They weren't going to do in the Jewish community. For whatever reason, they're turned off. So he takes them to Thailand and India, whatever, and he teaches them Torah in the process and has Shabbat and all these things, but he gets them. So we have to be creative in how we cut someone. There's all kinds of ways to be creative.
Right, yeah, but Moshe, I appreciate that, Moshe. Moshe was identifying also, you know, I think people in your community, you know, people in the Frum community that he's identifying and seeing that they're trying to satisfy themselves, middle-aged people, and the tefillin isn't doing it for them. They're still putting on tefillin. They're still doing mitzvahs. They're still coming to shul. But then they get into some foolish things because they're hungry for something, and yet they don't want to take the next step to you know, and this is where, you know, we all can contribute and need to contribute, need to make a difference, where you go over to a friend or person and you go for a walk and you have a talk and then you do something, and you know what I'm saying, it's an avodah. So he's right in identifying this as what we call, which we discussed when I was there, you know, the stale, becoming stale. You know, I put on tefillin for 20, 30 years. What do you have to be a shaynik? You know, or it's like, you know, the shul Yoni used to say about in Brooklyn, where everyone comes and chats and talks, you know, and these things exist. Or in LA, I remember there was one shul we would go and give over divrei Torah in different shuls. In one shul, I don't want to say whose shul it was. It was a very wealthy, Hancock Park is a very wealthy area in Los Angeles. And this Hungarian, you know, he had all the money in the world, and he made a big shul. And literally, I came there to say Torah, and they were talking throughout chakras. I ended up saying the divrei Torah, but I felt disgusted. Like, shut your mouths. I mean, like, there's a rabbi here, like, be quiet. Now, I wouldn't say that going into the Monroe Shul, which I told you about in Kiryas Yoel about 5 years ago, where there was a shul, a guy opened a shul, spent his money on the shul and in a basement for many of the kids that were going off on the people. What kids? And old elders, people coming with beards, not believing in God, and they were playing chess and playing backgammon. Guy takes out the newspaper, and there's a guy saying davening chakras, and I came into this scene. I never saw such a thing in my life. Either you're playing backgammon or reading newspapers, or you're not davening. No, there's davening and backgammon. One guy's eating, and I asked, and he said, listen, these people, they wouldn't be in any other shul, you know. They come here, it's a safe place. This is the way it begins, and you know, and we're trying to make them feel good and then get back to... And some of them, I remember speaking to them, they said, oh, they love Shlomo, they started listening to Shlomo Carlebach's music and the stories, and it talks to them. And I said, great, because I was writing at that time my book on Shlomo Carlebach, and you know, and it spoke to them. So, you know, you have to know when to say what and how to say it and where to say it. It's not just a very simple, but the overall ideology and philosophy and approach should be is, what can I do for someone else? Have a great day, everyone. Sei gesund. We'll see each other tomorrow. Bye-bye.